Laundry day. Nothing clean, right? Today on Outside the Box Reviews, we're taking a look at the Hot Toys MMS 238 T-800 battle damage version from the original Terminator film. If you remember, about a year ago, I got the DX battle damaged Terminator from Terminator 2 from Hot Toys, and that thing became the centerpiece of my collection. I think he really is my absolute favorite piece in my entire collection. And when I saw Hot Toys announce that they were doing what seemed like a perfect companion piece, the original Terminator in a similar end of movie torn up look, I knew I had to have it. Just like with my last Hot Toys figure, I got this from Sideshow Collectibles. Sideshow in the United States is the only official dealer of Hot Toys, so if there ever is a problem with your figure, they're the only people that could really help you. So if you didn't buy from them, you're kind of at the mercy of whoever you bought it from to get a replacement. But last year, my base didn't light up with my DX Terminator, and they sent me out a brand new one, so I knew I absolutely had to get it from them this time, just in case. So Sideshow definitely is the place to get a Hot Toy in the US. But let's not waste any more time. Let's jump right in and take a look at the Terminator. The T-800 comes with a very cool display base. And this is a DX style base, and this is not a DX figure, but this is one of the things that makes me feel like it is a true companion piece to the DX figure I got last year. Up here in the front, we got the Terminator T-800 on a nice little silver plaque. We have the posable little lights down here in the both front corners. And the stage itself is beautifully done, looking like the highway at the end of the movie. You can see the lines painted on the street, a nice asphalt texture to it with a ton of great paint shading that you'd expect from Hot Toys. We got oil stain over here with some little rocks, blood splattered all over the pavement, bunch of little bullets and casings on the ground, and then the infamous pipe bomb complete with a soft wick that's actually kind of posable. The pipe bomb stuck to the base though, but beautifully sculpted display base. This looks incredible. Back here we do have the arm to hold the figure, the cradle, so it comes up over the edge and then has the infamous under the legs hook that Hot Toys uses. Back here on the stand we have an on-off switch. You have to install your own AAA batteries, but once you do, flip that on, we get some great lights. As you'd expect from any Hot Toy, the T-800 comes loaded down with a ton of different hands, all with great detail on them. We get two fisted hands, two standard gun holding hands, plus an additional trigger finger for his left side, which I think is supposed to work with a shotgun since the trigger seems a little further out on that one, two relaxed palms, and then two busted up bloody end of the movie hands. All of the hands are beautifully detailed. You can see all the little holes in the gloves, all the great attention to detail, the stitching lines in them, the seams, all the correct wrinkles. Everything on these is absolutely top notch, beautifully done. Now these standard hands don't have a whole lot of paint going on. They're just really a flat black. There's a little bit of gloss difference in different areas of them. But then you get something like these bloody hands and you get a great variety. You can see the different reds inside. You can see even a little bit of the flesh tones poking through. The higher gloss nears where the blood seeped over the gloves. And we got the one little fingernail sticking out, which is kind of gross looking. Palm all torn away. Just absolutely beautifully detailed hands here. And also what you'd expect with any Hot Toy, we get an extra pair of wrist pegs in case the ones you have on there break, which is always nice to have as a backup. For weapons, the Terminator comes with his classic 45 long slide with the laser sighting on it. Beautifully done, even if it doesn't really correspond to this exact version of the Terminator. He only really had this back in Tech Noir. I think he lost it in that fight, so you never see this version of the T-800 with it, but it's a beautifully detailed gun, a beautiful silver paint job on it. It has all the little tiny details that Hot Toys is known for including. Laser sight looks beautiful. It doesn't actually light up or even have like light piping through it, but it's still very nicely done. See all the little detail on the handle here. It actually does slide out, so you can kind of cock the gun just like he does in the film. You can move the hammer back here, and you can even pull out the clip. And you can even see the little bullet in there, which is amazingly great attention to detail. Next up, we have his Smith & Wesson Model 15, his little revolver he uses at the very end of the film. You see him chasing down Sarah and Reese on his motorcycle, and this is like the last resort weapon he has. Once again, beautifully done, nice silver paint job on it as well. Little leathery looking handle with the brass button. Once again, an amazing job by Hot Toys. The little cylinder up here will actually rotate, and you even pop it out, have it come down to the side. You can see all the individual little bullets sculpted and painted in there. And once again, you can move the little hammer back here. A beautiful accessory. Next up, we have his SPAS 12 shotgun. And if I'm calling these guns the wrong thing, I'm just trying to go off Internet Movie Firearm Database and do the best I can. But I am not a gun person. I don't really know too much about them. But this has a beautiful paint job to it as well. It's black, but there's some nice kind of silvery dry brushing done on it to show a little bit of wear and tear, which it obviously had at this point in the film. See the little kind of ring back here, the little rivets throughout, barrel up there at the front, very nicely done. Just an absolutely beautiful weapon here. It has the little strap hanging off the back here. There's a little panel you could pull back over here, and you could actually prime the shotgun. It actually has a sliding part up here at the front. And last but certainly not least, we have his AR-18 assault rifle, which is very, very cool as well. Similar paint job to the shotgun. You do have the strap going up here in the front. I feel like I could let this out a little bit. It's pretty tight. I think I could probably give it a little more slack, but I have to double check the movie to see if that's accurate or not. Little switches back here. I assume that's like the safety switch. Once again, I don't know much about guns. The one thing I dislike about this gun in particular is the clip falls out very easily, but it does have a really cool clip. You got the bullets up here at the top, and then if you flip it over, you can see some more on the other side. They're kind of two taped together clips. And it's funny because I'd seen this in the movie. I knew that he had two clips taped together, and I never really understood how it worked, and now it makes complete sense that you load it from one side, and then when you run out of bullets, you just flip it upside down and install it the other way. I was completely clueless that that's what the point was. But now that I see it, it makes complete sense. The rest of the gun looks great as well. All the cool mechanical details on it. Once again, not knowing guns, I can't really tell you what they're supposed to be or what they do, but it looks beautiful. It looks realistic. We have another little lever up here we could pull back, which is a great little bit of attention to detail. So I don't think you'd ever need to do with this figure, but it's there because it's Hot Toys. It's an absolutely, absolutely beautiful weapon. And after all those guns, we come to these scariest accessory of all, his shades. These are really cool. They're a translucent black plastic, but they feel so fragile. The arms are always out to the sides, and they just feel like this is something that's going to break. I'm always nervous handling these, but they look amazing. On either side of this figure's less damaged head sculpt, there's kind of an indentation at his hairline, and that's where the arms go. You just slide the shades on, get them lined up on either side, and you have one freaking cool looking Schwarzenegger figure. Now another great feature of this figure is if we turn him around, you can see there's kind of a dividing line back here in the back of his head. Anyone familiar with Hot Toys probably knows where this is going, but it's magnetically attached. We have ourselves a little button in there, and when we press that button, the eye lights up, which is such a great, cool detail. You can see it through the shades, which is amazing. Now this light, unlike the DX version, does not stay on indefinitely with the switch. This with the button just stays on for a few seconds and then eventually goes off on its own, which I must say I greatly prefer. And if we take the shades off, now that is just cool looking. You can see all the inner workings of that eye, all the endoskeleton goodness with the blood around it, and that just looks awesome. Looks more realistic than it did in the movie, but that's really not that hard to do. The head sculpt is amazing, and I feel like I keep saying everything on this figure is amazing, but it just is. It's hard to get away from. The paint detail on him is superb. There's all this great shading within the skin, giving it a very lifelike look. The sculpted texture adds to that as well. His one good eye is nice and glossy, making it look lifelike. All the wrinkles in the skin are great. Definitely a great depiction of a younger Arnold. Got his hair coming up in that nice spiky cut after it was burned off. The biggest issue here really is that there is a nice seam coming in the back of the head where the rear plate snaps on. It looks okay. It's not the best look from profile, but it works fine enough. And then the hair has some great sculpting and painted brown details in there. And I think as far as sculpted hair goes, you can't get much more realistic than this. Underneath the head, we do go into a rubberized upper body, so there's kind of a rubberized neck, but it matches the paint and sculpt of the head enough that you really can't tell it's a separate material there. This figure does come with an alternate head sculpt, a battle damaged one, and this adds a great deal more paint texture to it. A lot of black dirt all over the face, making him look like he's been run over by a truck, which he was at this point in the film. Some great cuts all over the face, and the beautiful, beautiful shiny blood they used here. The gloss they added to the blood really makes it look lifelike and just fantastic. And then this side of the face where he's really torn up is masterful. The hair is all torn away. You can see the endoskeleton coming out of the top here with the skin ripped away in a very realistic look. The eye, of course, is still all jacked up like it was before, and now the whole side of the mouth is torn away. The cheek is gone, giving it a very 3D look that they couldn't really achieve in the movie at the time without using the puppet, which didn't look that much like Arnold. So this is really the best of both worlds with the figure. And I don't know if you could see it in there, but you could actually even see the endoskeleton teeth within his busted up head, which is amazing attention to detail. And just like the other figure, you can pop the back of his head off, and there's another little button. It works the same as before with this eye lighting up. Now the glasses will not fit on this head too easily. You can kind of balance them on his nose if you wanted to, but it doesn't have the grooves in the side of the hair to fit in. So I wouldn't recommend putting the sunglasses on this guy. Coming down the body of the figure, we have his t-shirt underneath with a nice texture to it. It has the holes revealing the bloody body underneath where he's been shot. This is a short sleeve shirt. You can kind of see his arms popping out underneath. And the shirt clings to his body in kind of an odd way, and I don't always like the way it kind of attaches itself, but if you play with it enough, you can get it to look just right. The jacket is also a beautiful piece. Same kind of pleathery texture that we had on the DX version. It does also have that cloth lining on the inside, which I think probably makes it a little easier to put on and off the figure or just to move around, since it probably won't stick to things as bad as this pleather would. You can see we have all the zipper details. We got the lacing up the side on it. Got more holes in the back with bloody areas painted on the shirt. All the little bullet holes as well. Got the zippers on the sleeve there. Rivets around the collar. And all kinds of pockets and details. And even the little zipper up the front. The images I've seen made me believe that they designed this so you could actually use this zipper. It should be a working zipper. I haven't been able to get it to work, and I'm afraid to try to push it. So I'm not going to try. He only has it zipped up briefly, and it seemed when he's walking down the hotel hallway, so I'm not too concerned having him replicate that look. Below we have his cargo pants, a nice khaki, very weathered up. There's definitely some black kind of shading put on here. It's got all the pockets and little buttons all over it. Just once again, beautiful attention to detail. And then his boots, this one having the kind of spiked dog collar looking thing put around it. Very nice looking, nice stitching detail. This one's a little more simplistic here, but great look. Not to be the weirdo in dressing this figure, but the body underneath is still incredibly well detailed, just like every other part of this figure. What we basically get is a standard Hot Toys muscular body. Up in his chest, we actually have a rubberized piece Hot Toys has added on there to really bulk up the figure. Comparing this to my T2 version of Arnold, obviously that was a completely different sculpt because it had to have the chest piece where you could see the endoskeleton through it, but he's definitely not nearly as big and bulky as this version, which is a nice touch and great attention to detail. I think realistically this Arnold should be a little bigger because he was freaking huge when he did that film, but it's still a nice way to use their existing body and get to that point. And there is no lack of detail here, a great skin texture, everything you'd expect to see. And then we have the two gunshot wounds here on him. You can see a nice blood effect deeper in the middle where the impact would have happened, then kind of feathering out towards the edges. And another great attention to detail piece that they didn't have to give us, they actually gave us the surgery arm. This is of course movie accurate, but after you actually see him do the surgery, you never see this arm again. So I was actually really surprised that they included it, but the detail's great. You can see the little pistons inside, the bloody flesh torn away, and just a wonderful piece. Now of course this arm did come with their first T-800 from Terminator 1 figure, but it's great to see it carried over as it would have been in the movie. For articulation, this Terminator is pretty darn posable. The head can move up and down. It's on a ball joint, but the ball joint doesn't protrude very far off the base of the head. It's actually different from the DX T-800 in that respect, but there is also a joint at the base of the neck, and it's rubberized, so you can kind of use that to move the head up and down a little easier. Of course, swiveling side to side and tilting. We have kind of a armpit joint here at the shoulder. You can move a little bit forward and back, in and out. You can also swivel forwards and backwards as well as out to the side. A bicep swivel, a double jointed elbow, the beautiful Hot Toys wrist pegs, which will allow you to swivel as well as bend at an axis and then kind of rotate around and bend at different ways. I love these wrist joints, and I'm glad that other companies are starting to emulate them more and more. We have a mid-torso ball joint with some great motion there. Also a ball joint at the waist, so you could swivel around, move all different directions. Pin socket legs will go forward and back and out to the side, as well as swivel. Now, of course, all this articulation is limited by the clothing, but it's not too restrictive. We got a double jointed knee, and at the ankle, we can actually still rotate, as well as get a decent amount of articulation out of the ball joint in there. Boot is soft enough that it doesn't hinder it as much as I would think it would. And here we have him next to his Terminator 2 counterpart, the DX version. Now the Terminator 2 version does stand slightly taller, but I think he also has thicker boots on, and there may be a little difference in the torso, seeing as that torso was all one solid piece without the ball joint in the center. But these two guys still look great together. It's kind of weird to have the age progression of Arnold. I don't think I'd buy a Terminator 3 figure if they put one out, but who knows? Maybe Genesis won't be too bad and they'll make the hobo looking Terminator so I can get the old man Arnold. And just for the hell of it, here he is next to my liquid metal T-1000. And this version of the T-1000 is obviously a little short because he's still a puddle of goo on the floor, but just kind of interesting to have them side by side. Now having these two guys, I really hope that Hot Toys revisits their T-800 endoskeleton and gives us a new version, maybe with chrome plating similar to that quarter scale version they did. I think that would fit in beautifully with these Terminators, and still kind of holding out for a DX T-1000 revisit as well. I don't feel like I need every Terminator in every version ever, but I would kind of like to assemble the machines from T1 and T2. I strongly recommend this figure. If you're a Terminator fan, it's just absolutely perfect. I had purchased it mainly as a companion piece to go along with my Terminator 2 version, but in its own right, this thing is completely awesome. What Hot Toys has given us here is almost a DX figure without being a DX figure. It doesn't quite come with as many accessories. It doesn't have the movable eyes with the PERS system, but everything else on it is top notch, and I really couldn't ask for much more in a T-800 figure. And this guy will proudly sit with his 90s counterpart on my Detolf shelf. But if you are at all a fan of the Terminator movies, I would at least consider picking this up as a centerpiece to your collection. And I imagine several people will get too. This figure kind of represents two different versions of the Terminator with the two different heads, as you see it here, and with its display base, it very much shows the very end of the film, but its accessories and its primary look really reflects the police station assault. So you really get two great iconic looks of the Terminator with this, and I think I'm probably gonna have him look like he's in the police station assault mode primarily, but either way, it's a pretty freaking cool figure. Make sure you check me out on Instagram, username Outside the Box Reviews. Also check me out on Facebook, link below. And until next time, this has been our Outside the Box Reviews, and this review is terminated.